Hi everybody, this is the Cosmic Reader here, and today I'm going to be giving you my non-spoiler review on Captain America Brave New World. Brave New World has some cool action sequences, like this one scene where it's a flight action sequence with both Sam Wilson, Captain America, and walking towards Falcon, going against enemies up in the sky. That scene reminded me of the action sequences that you would see in Top Gun Maverick, and what I know from the filmmakers and what they said about the action sequence, that's why they gave Sam Wilson the fighter helmet to have him do cool aerodynamic stuff and to make him go Mach speeds during that action sequence. Also, the fight between Sam Wilson and Red Hulk was honestly a little bit cooler than I expected and lasted a little longer than I expected too. I mean, who would expect a fight between a Hulk and a regular guy to go well? Honestly. Some of the negatives I would say that I have of this film was the way they handled exposition in this film. They spent too much time explaining to you past events in the MCU, like catching you up to speed on what happened during the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or films like The Incredible Hulk. Even exposition that characters give of what they've been up to off screen just felt unnecessary and didn't need to be there, and just kind of made the film drag, even though this film is one of the shortest runtimes of any runtime in the Captain America franchise. Sometimes the CGI felt off. There are some scenes where you could tell that Sam Wilson is behind a green screen. It felt like most of the budget went on the CGI for the Red Hulk, because the Red Hulk does look great in this film. He looks the best out of any of the Hulks I've seen in the MCU when it comes to the recent MCU projects that the Hulk has been post-Endgame. Giancarlo Expedito's character, Sidewinder, was barely in the film and felt like he didn't really need to be there. I remember Giancarlo hyping his character up and acting all excited on who he's going to play in the MCU, but Sidewinder has always been a pretty forgettable character within the roster of Captain America's Rogues Gallery. In fact, most of the members of the Serpent Society are not really the best out of Captain America's Rogues Gallery, in my opinion. Joaquin Torres as the Falcon is a fine new addition to the cast of Captain America. I kind of buy the friendship that him and Sam Wilson have in the film. There was this one time in the film where he made like a cringe joke, especially like during the end of that one fight sequence in the beginning of the film. But when it got to serious interactions between him and Sam Wilson, I thought that was played off pretty well. And again, I buy the friendship that him and Sam Wilson have, but he's still no Bucky Barnes. I feel like Bucky Barnes, out of everything we've seen of him in the Captain America franchise, has proved him to be the best side character of the entire franchise. Whether he's next to Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson, I kind of buy their friendship with him more than I do Joaquin Torres. I just feel like we could have benefited from seeing the Falcon more. Because if we would have gotten more of those serious moments between him and Sam, maybe he would be up there par to par with Bucky Barnes as one of Captain America's greatest friends. When it comes to Sam Wilson himself as a character, I felt like Anthony Mackie actually did a great job with his character. Personally, Sam Wilson was never really my favorite version of Captain America, not even in the comics. Because personally to me, there's not a lot of grand and memorable moments in the comics that I could tell you right off the back of my head. Besides when Sam Wilson stood off against an evil version of Steve Rogers back in the Secret Empire event, when Steve Rogers was a secret agent working for Hydra in an alternate history. Other than that, his comics are not up to par with, say, the Ed Brubaker, Steve Rogers Captain America comics back in the early 2000s, or how Steve Rogers was written in the comics during the Civil War event back in the early 2000s as well. And for me, if I would have to pick a different person to take on the mantle of Captain America besides Steve Rogers, I would have chosen Bucky Barnes. To me, Bucky Barnes becoming Captain America just gives him a nice redemption arc that I felt like would have benefited his story. And they even teased it a little bit, or at least it felt like they teased it within the original Captain America trilogy and some of the Avengers films. Heck, every time you see him catch the shield in the original films, it felt like that they were setting him up to become the new Captain America, and maybe they just changed their minds just because they wanted to go more diverse with the character, which is not a bad thing if done well. I've heard some people say that it wouldn't make sense for Bucky Barnes to become the new Captain America because of his past as a sleeper agent working for Hydra and all the terrible acts he's done with throughout the history of him being that sleeper agent. But something crossed my mind as I was watching this new film that showed me why that statement is wrong. And I'll get into that for like a spoiler review if you guys want to see a spoiler review. That's all I'll say about it. But back to Sam Wilson as Captain America. Despite how I feel about him as Captain America compared to other people who've taken the mantle, he still does a pretty good job, and he embodies the whole caring nature of the mantle pretty well. He embodies the message of the film Captain America the First Avenger pretty well, where in the First Avenger, the reason why Steve Rogers was picked was not because he's already a perfect soldier, but because he's a good man. And that's why Steve Rogers picked Sam Wilson to become the Captain America during the end of Endgame, because he sees the good man in him. And this film does show you that Steve Rogers did make the right choice. And regardless on how well this film does, I really hope we do get to see Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson Cap more in other films like the Avengers films. And I really hope we get to see him in a film that has a more confident script that could lead into more positive opinions and not something that's mixed or something that's bad. Because I would still like to see him continue his growth, becoming a leader in his own right, trying to lead the Avengers into facing big threats, like, of course, Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday. So my final thoughts that I have for this film is that this film is watchable. It's an alright film. It has its problems, but I feel like it's good enough to be enjoyable in a way. And I will also say this. I would like to challenge people to not just take my word for granted, because yes, I'm giving you my thoughts and my review, but I always prefer that the audience just make up their own opinion and make up their own mind on whether they want to see a movie or not. I would just want to see you guys just figure out for yourselves if you want to give your money to this film and spend 2 hours on paying attention to this story. And I don't want my opinions to be the deciding factor on whether you want to see this film or not, or whether you would even like this film or not if you already seen it. Because at the end of the day, we're all different people. We're not robots. God never made us to be robots. He made us to be individuals with our own minds and our own thoughts and feelings and our own choices. I don't care if you believe in him or not. The fact of the matter is that you are your own person, and I want you guys to decide for yourself whether you think it's worth spending time on watching this film or not. And if you guys already have seen this film, tell me guys what you thought in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was alright like me? But I would encourage you guys not to give spoilers in the comments, because I don't want anyone to be spoiled in a non-spoil review. We'll talk spoilers when I give my spoiler review soon. Anyways, thank you guys for having me. If you liked the video, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Cosmic Reader and hit the notification bell so you can be notified on when I upload my next video. Share with a friend to see if they would want to watch this review. And with all that said, I'll see you in the cosmos.